Hi, how are you? No, how are you really? Isn't it interesting that in society, habits that have become part of our professional and social life is that we do ask sometimes the right questions, but we don't are not really asking the right questions. So asking someone how they are is more out of politeness, it's more out of norms and how we approach people in the workplace, in society, than really a situation where we really want to know how people are. It's the first sentence of our communication before we ask for what we want, before we go into the real subject matter. And as we continue the series of well-being for well-doing, I wanted to start the conversation and hear from everyone how do you know that you're not okay? And we'll be exploring two aspects of how do we know that we're not okay. And the first one is around self-awareness. And as part of life, as we grow, it's so important to continuously learn about who we are as individuals, how we show up, what excites us, what keeps us down, what drains our energy, what our strengths are, how we show up in the world, how do we listen to ourselves, how do we listen to our emotions, our thoughts, how do we interact with society at large, and consistently committing ourselves to the journey of knowing ourselves and being able to listen to ourselves is a whole other conversation that we could have separately, but this would be around and this conversation today around well-being and knowing when we're not okay is really based on how we can see that we are not showing up the way we usually show up. So how do we know we are not okay? How do we know that a negative emotion, a negative thought, our body, reacting negatively has been, is not short-lived. It's actually a very protracted period of time. The truth is, life is mountains and valleys, and we will face challenges, we will face situations that are less than ideal. And there's an initial reaction of the less than the ideal, and then there's us coming to terms with that. But how do you know when that has lasted too long and you need to be very concerned? For people who are really self-aware, you'll notice a change in yourself. You'll notice that either, for example, you no longer have the excitement and the energy you usually bring into situations. You will notice that you are, experiencing some brain fog. You'll notice that you're also potentially not having the level of creativity you have, the excitement. You will notice that you're easily, easily distracted, easily irritated. You can sometimes notice that you're beginning to withdraw into yourself. You might actually also notice that it's not just your emotional feeling and your brain fog, but you'll also begin to notice changes in your body. You'll notice that you have a change in your appetite. You'll have changes in your sleep pattern. You'll have changes in your body, in the way you breathe, in the way you show up in situations. You might be tense. You might find that you're holding your breath. If you've not historically been grinding your teeth, you're grinding your teeth even more often. There are physical signs, emotional signs, and mental signs that can, for us to notice that things are not okay, that a situation that was negative has lasted for a little bit longer, and it's something that is calling our attention. So that's the first piece. You're self-aware, you know how you generally show up with the energy, creativity, and excitement you bring to situations. But then the second piece is that, sometimes you're self-aware and sometimes we're just moving through the world, trying to just soldier through a situation. But people who know us, who cherish us, who love us, who care for us, who interact with us often might also be able to raise concerns and let us know that we are actually changing in the way we're showing up in a place. So how do we know we are not okay? Our mind, our heart, our body will tell us if we are in tune or we work towards being in tune with ourselves, but also our environment, our ecosystem, our support system, the people who we love and care for us and who know us can also alert us that we are not okay.